It was the summer of 1955. Mose Wright traveled to Chicago from Mississippi to spend time with his family. And in the midst of their exchange, he began to bring up the possibility of young Emmett coming down to the South to spend time with him and his cousins in Mississippi. Oh, young Emmett was bubbling with excitement of having the opportunity to spend summer down south with his cousins. And so he was raring to go, ready to go. His mother, Mamie Till Mobley, was not as excited. In fact, she was very discouraged about the possibility of Emmett going to the South. Emmett wasn't born in the South. He wasn't raised in the South. There were certain restrictions and things that young Black men had to be mindful of in the South that they did not have to be mindful of in Chicago, Illinois. And so she was very concerned of how Emmett would fit into the very segregated and racist culture in Money, Mississippi. But Emmett convinces her that it would be a great opportunity for him. And so she reluctantly allows him to go. And she speaks to him very firmly about being watchful and mindful of how he carries himself in Mississippi. Oh, I'm gonna be all right, mama. Emmett's trying to reassure her that she had nothing to worry about. He gets on the train. He's so excited about going, and he embraces his mother, what would be for the last time. We know the story, the exchange that happened with young Emmett and the young Carolyn Bryant in the Bryant store, what was alleged to have been done, what was alleged to have taken place that ultimately resulted in his cowardly, horrific murder. This is Brother Heath L. with Griot's Corner film review of Women of the Movement. Women of the Movement was first aired on January the 6th, 2022 on ABC. It closed out its last airing on January the 20th, 2022 on ABC. It can also be reviewed and viewed on Hulu. It is a very tremendous story because it's directed by Gina Prince Bythewood. It's produced by Will Smith and Jay-Z Carter. And it chronicles not simply the story of young Emmett, but it also talks about the fearlessness, the love, the vulnerability, the boldness of Mamie Till Mobley. As Dave Chappelle remarked about her, Mamie Till was a gangster in the sense that she took a bold stand to do what she did in the midst of the tragedy of her son, how she boldly allowed and wanted, demanded that pictures would be taken of what was done to him, that the world would see the atrocity of what racist bigotry can result in. And so this movie captures it beautifully, highlighted in the outstanding, what I believe to be an Emmy Award, at least nominated performance by Tony Award winner Adrienne Warren, who portrays Mamie Till Mobley beautifully. She captures not only the pain of this mother who had to endure this horrific tragedy, but bear in mind, she had not yet married Gene Mobley, who was portrayed by Ray Fisher, remarkably and beautifully as well. But bear in mind that she was a single Black mother in 1955, you all. And she made some decisions that altered the consciousness of not only the United States, but the world. The world saw what Roy Bryant and J.W. Milam did to young Emmett Till. And she was insisting that that story and that the images of what had been done to him and that his story would be told. And so Adrienne Warren captures not only her boldness, her courageousness, but she also captures her vulnerability, of how this impacted her, having to bury her child in this manner, not just losing a child, but in the way in which she lost her child. And she captures those moments of emotional vulnerability beautifully. And the core essence of her performance was the love, not just the love that she had for her son Emmett, but the love that she had for her community and for the world, and making sure that no Black son or daughter would ever have to face and endure what her son had to face and endure. Remarkable performance by young Cedric Joe, who portrays Emmett Till. Many of you may remember young Cedric Joe. He was in the new LeBron James Space Jam movie, and he played LeBron James's youngest son in that movie. He captures this vibrant, wholesome spirit of Emmett, and he portrays him in such a remarkable way, showing Emmett as a loving son who just wanted to experience life, wanted to go down south. He wanted to be there with his uncle and nephews. He had no clue that he was moving toward what would eventually become his tragic death. But he captures that. Cedric Joe captures that wonderment of this young man. He portrays him beautifully when he discovers, as Emmett, what he had done, trying to understand what he had done wrong in the Bryant store, trying to plead for his own life that fell on deaf ears of Roy Bryant and J.W. Milam. He portrayed him beautifully, and it was captured so remarkably. The exchange between Cedric Joe and Adrienne Warren in their performances as mother and son was very, not only beautifully done, there was a sacred connection that they made, and you see it beautifully portrayed on film. Remarkable portrayal of how he captured young Emmett. We have to lift up the performance of Tanya Pinkins, who portrayed Alma, who's the mother of Mamie Mobley, the grandmother of Emmett, and how she is doing everything she can to protect her daughter and her family from what has transpired, trying to shield her, if you will. And then, of course, Mamie having to come out from behind the shield of her mother and to step into the light for herself and for her son for the very first time. Remarkable mother and daughter performances that was captured there beautifully. Again, what we see is that there was a bonding of the actors in portraying these roles. It was a bonding of them because they made this movie in the midst of the pandemic and thought and knew that it was that important, even in the dangers of a pandemic, that this story was told when it was told, in the manner in which it was told. And it's so captured beautifully well. One of the standout performances in this film is from legendary actor Glenn Turman, who portrays Mose Wright in a remarkable way, showing not only the courage that he had to go into court during the trial of Roy Bryant and J.W. Milam and go on the stand and stand up and point, which was a dangerous thing to do, much less look at a white man, but then to accuse a white man and point at him and say, this is the man who did this to my nephew. For him to do that anyway as a Black man in the South, especially in 1955. And Glenn Turman captures the complexity of what was going on inside of Mose, because again, he understood full well that Mamie had entrusted her son to him. He understood full well that he was the responsible adult in caring for Emmett. And it showed the conflict in that relationship between him and Mamie. They portrayed it beautifully. It shows the conflict that Mamie has initially, and being very upset, rightfully so, with Mose. I entrusted my boy to you, and now he's been murdered, he's dead. But then it shows the bonding, the reunion, the beautiful, I guess you could say, understanding that was gained between them two as he looks at and goes into court, and she sees him, and she looks at him, and she looks at him to say, thank you for taking a stand for Emmett. Beautifully done. The performances of Carter Jenkins and Chris Coy as Roy Bryant and J.W. Milam, which was chilling, to say the least. Again, don't know these actors personally, but I can only imagine if they are actors of moral fortitude, what this did for them to have to portray these roles. Even some of the other roles that were portrayed in this movie, Timothy Hutton, who portrayed the prosecuting attorney, and what that did and how he moved toward creating a different picture of Roy Bryant and J.W. Milam, on top of trying to portray this picture of guilt of young Emmett, almost asserting that whatever happened to him, if anything happened to him, first, because they disputed whether or not the body that they found in the river was that of young Emmett's. They portrayed those roles beautifully. This movie, Women of the Movement, again, chronicles the heroic bravery of Mamie Till. It chronicles the stand that she took in the midst of all that was taking place. She took a stand, and she took a stand not only for her son, but for children all over the world. She became an educator and a vocal component of not only the civil rights movement, but even long after, she continued to be a voice for the voiceless of the young. And she continued to mother, even after the tragic loss of Emmett. I would strongly suggest that each of you would go and either if you have an ABC subscription or Hulu subscription, that you would look up Women of the Movement and that you would watch it, that you would have discussions about it. It is a painful story to watch. It's even understandable when I've heard persons say, I can't look at it because it conjures up so many emotions and feelings. But I think that the only way for us to heal from certain things, we have to take the scabs off. We have to expose the wounds to air so that the healing that's necessary can take place. It would be my hope and my prayer that you would take the scab off this wound within your own heart, within your own mind, and go and look at and capture and be brought into this beautiful story, tragic yet heroic, hopeful story of Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley. May both of their souls rest in perpetual peace. May their legacies of what they did, what was done with them, what was done to Emmett, and what Mamie did in response to that would be heralded throughout generations to come. Brother Heath L., Griot's Corner Film Review, Women of the Movement. Stay tuned for more film reviews coming from the Griot's Corner. Peace and blessings.